Hello, everyone. Welcome to SJS Writes, one-on-one author interview series. I'm Shawnee Smith, founder of SJS Writes. This morning, I am excited to introduce to you our guest, Ellie Jay, who is a multi-genre author and a master of sarcasm. Ellie Jay is an independent author with a love of fiction and a nasty habit of sarcasm. She writes books of all different genres and ties them all together with sarcastic third-person narration. At the moment, her published works include The Secret Series, which is a trilogy of Russian mafia action thrillers with dashes of science fiction and overarching sarcasm, and Planet of Lies, a science fiction story that is packed full of witty dialogue and sassy narration. Welcome, Ellie Jay, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Ellie, who or what inspires you to become a writer?
It's a difficult question because I don't remember a time when I didn't want to be a writer. When I was about 6 years old, I wrote a book, got my mum to staple it together, drew pictures, I drew a cover, and I took it into school and showed it off to everyone. So it's obviously something that's just been there from the early days of my life.
Very nice. So you didn't have your teachers or your mother influence you, you just knew what you wanted to do and went for it.
Yeah.
So Ellie, who or what influenced you to become a sarcastic author?
Well, that came a bit later on. It was quite a lot of stuff that I was reading, and it was actually a lot of the stuff that my dad gave me to read. So I suppose in part he can take credit because he introduced me to Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams, a lot of people who use humour and a particular kind of humour in their work that also has a fairly serious plot or serious message as well. So that was where that idea came from.
Very nice. Your latest book, Planet of Lies. How in the world did you come up with this title? Because when I think of this title, I can think of various scenarios that will fit.
Well, originally I had the concept for a science fiction story, and it was about a planet which had disappeared. Everyone thought it had been destroyed, and then somebody rediscovered it, and there's a bit of a conspiracy about why it's been gone and what's happened. So originally it was called The Lost Planet, and then I thought that title doesn't quite express the underlying elements of the conspiracy and the deception around it. So I thought I want to change the title. I'm not quite sure what. And I actually did a social media poll and got some suggestions there, and there was a few about the Mystery Planet or Planet of Lies, and that was the one that I finally went with because I just think it's really good at expressing the core ideas of the book.
Yes, and like I said before, it's really catchy. So in your latest book, Xenia, the main character, and the other characters are really fighting for their independence. Why do you think freedom should be fought for?
Well, I've always been a feminist. I was taught by my mother, and she said that people have died for the right for women to vote, for working class men to vote, for people of colour to vote. And it's really important to use your vote to express your independence, to express the rights that you have. So that's always been very important to me, even when I was younger. And I think nowadays, with so many different identities in the world and everyone coming together, it's very key that you think about how people express themselves and having the right to express themselves. Because originally Xenia's journey starts because she is not happy with the system that she's living in and the way that she is told to express herself and present herself, and she wants to make changes to that. And it actually becomes about a lot more and freedom on a larger scale and for other people, but that's how it starts.
Yeah, I really admired her boldness. So Xenia is depicted as a strong and passionate leader that can discern what she needs and to follow. What was your motivation to provide her with these attributes?
I think that the trouble with strong characters, or the trouble with a lot of strong characters, is that people try and write them as just a badass character, for want of a better word, especially when it comes to strong women. They don't seem to understand the levels of depth that there is. And I think that actually being a leader is much more important than that. And it's very difficult. You do need to be able to follow, you need to be able to listen, you need to be able to work with people rather than just telling them to do what you want, to follow you all the time. And yes, part of Xenia's character, she is a badass. She does fight people and she has that side to her, but part of her character is also that she's a leader and she's working with a team of very unusual characters who perhaps she wouldn't have chosen to work with to try and help everybody get the best outcome.
Yeah, I just love that she was really relatable and she wasn't just one dimensional. You can just see the different layers of her. So, Ellie Jay, what advice would you give to writers who are struggling to get their first book published?
I would say make it happen. Don't wait. Don't try and force it. If you're feeling frustrated, maybe you've been trying to query agents, you've been approaching publishing houses, and you're just fed up of it. Just make it happen. You can self-publish, you can go down an independent route, you can do a hybrid publishing. There are so many other routes now, and you research what's best for you, what you think would be best for your book, for the genre that it is, the story you want to tell, the purpose, and just go for it, make it happen. Be the active person, because sitting at home, sending emails, slogging through all the time doesn't necessarily get you where you need to be. But standing up, being active, talking to people, doing your research and finding what works for you will get you where you need to be.
Right, that's a good point. You can't be shy when it comes to getting your work out because you never know who you may help.
No. And if you don't talk about it to people, you're not going to get anywhere. I met some other writers where I live recently, and one of them is, she hasn't published anything yet. She was trying to, she didn't really know what to do, and she came and spoke to people about the different ways that they've gone about publishing, and she shared a synopsis of her work and said, this is what I want, and we were actually able to work together to point her in the direction of something that would work for her. But you have to speak to people to get that.
It's fabulous advice. What current or upcoming projects or events would you like to share with our audience?
I actually have two projects that I'm working on. One of them's very new, so don't get too excited, because I have just started the sequel to Planet of Lies, which is, I've only written about 1,000 words yet, so it's a huge way off being anything, but it's going to get deeper into Xenia's origin story, her background, what's happened in the past, and the overarching conspiracy, which wasn't really dug that deep into before. So that's a big project. And the other one, I'm going to be producing a 3 books in one hardcover with illustrations and bonus content and all singing, all dancing, bells and whistles of my first series, the sequel series, in which I go back and edit it, because I wrote the first book when I was 19. So it needs some tweaks. It's still a good story, but there's some things that now I would change. So I'm going to be working to produce that, and it's going to have character art and lots of other things involved as well.
That is fabulous, and I know I look forward to seeing the finished product, and especially reading the sequel of Planet of Lies. Ellie, how can our audience connect with you and purchase your books?
I think the best way is probably on Twitter, well, the platform formerly known as Twitter, shall we say, where my username is Ellie Jay Writes, because all my links are there. I've got a link to pretty much all my social media platforms listed there. All my books are there. And if you want to personally connect with me and talk to me, I'm very active there, and it is run by me. It's not a social media manager. You will get straight to me. You can comment on my posts. You can message me. You can say what you like, really, and I'll respond.
Fantastic. Ellie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I know this won't be the last of our conversation and connection.
Oh, thank you. It's been great to connect. I was surprised when I first got your message, but I'm always open to new opportunities and anything a new connection can bring.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to post all your social media links on the YouTube video. Thank you so much.
Thank you.